So Joe Biden, in my opinion, is the likely establishment favorite for 2020. I know we're talking about 2020 again, even though it's not even 2018 yet. And really, that's what we should focus on. But nonetheless, he's got the all hallmarks of running for office. He's going on book tours. He's doing speeches. He's going after Donald Trump. Oh, yeah, and he's trashing millennials. Did you hear that, Ron?
I have heard about that. Yes.
Yeah, something tells me that might not be very smart, considering that we're an enormous voting block already, and we're already super pissed off.
Yeah,
So
no kidding.
So he was having a conversation with Pat Morrison of the LA Times, and so he decided to go full old man yells at cloud on millennials. So I'm going to read it to you here. He says, the younger generation now tells me how tough things are. Give me a break. No, I have no empathy for it. Give me a break. Give me a break. So, okay, do you want me to read the rest of that, or do you want to jump in?
You know what? Go ahead. Read the rest of it
So
first.
let's give you some context
we'll
then.
unpack.
Right. So he says, here's the deal, guys. We decided we're going to change the world. Meaning his generation. He'd be a boomer, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So great changes that you've made to the world in your generation, Joe. Appreciate it. I can think of one change.
You know.
Climate change. That's one change that you've made. Changed the economy from being prosperous to completely shit. That's a big change.
An era of neoliberalism.
Thanks.
You know, it did a lot of stuff. Yeah. Thanks.
Gotta love the change. Now he says, we finished the civil rights movement in the first stage, which by the way is still going on, because guess what? A lot of Americans still don't have civil rights. In fact, prisons are still using slave labor at this point. I mean, that's what that is. That is the new Jim Crow, where they will, arrest African Americans at higher rates than they do white people, and they will make them work for literal pennies on the dollar, which is basically tantamount to modern day slavery. So, okay, we've got a bit of a ways to go when it comes to civil rights. He also says the women's movement came to be. We've got a lot of work from that. So he says, my message is get involved. There's no place to hide. You can go and you can make all the money in the world. No, you actually can't. But you can't build a wall high enough to keep
That's
the
a
pollution out.
right-wing talking point.
I know, right? Oh, you've got all this opportunity if you just get off your ass and stop being lazy. But wait a minute. No, actually, we don't have that opportunity. We would love to have the opportunity, the same opportunity that was afforded to your generation. We would love to have that same opportunity. But we don't have it. That's why we're mad. That's why we're pissed off. Mm-hmm. And that's why Joe Biden is so incredibly tone deaf in this interview.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to jump in, or do you want me to read the rest of that?
No, I think we're good. I think we got enough.
We got the point.
We kind of know the gist of this. And, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not trying to throw a blanket generalization out there the way Joe Biden did. There's a lot of baby boomers that have done a lot of great things. There were a lot of great things to come out of that generation. And there's a lot of people that are very much in touch. The reality of the world we live in, we all have a bit of a bias based on the age group we're in. Right? I mean, 20 years from now, Jeff, you and I are going to be wondering, what our generation thinks and how they do things. Like we might not connect with the generation before us. But what
Case
makes
in
a
point,
difference is
Tide
your
Pods.
willingness. Huh?
Case in point, why are those kids eating Tide Pods?
Right. I've seen a bunch of those memes, and I'm still not hip to exactly what that's all about. But yes, that's a great point. But the difference is one's willingness to try to learn and one's willingness to still kind of keep up with the herd, so to speak, and then one's dismissal of throwing out these cliches. Like, oh, well, you guys are just lazy. Give me a break. You had it tough. I had it tough. I didn't have an iPhone. Yeah, you didn't have an iPhone, but you also had a much better economic situation than we did. Way freaking better. That's just the reality of it. There were generations that had it tougher than we did too. Yeah, but you know what? We had it better at one point in time, so we need to figure out what was going right then and recreate it in today's society. And that's the difference between somebody that wants to evolve and wants to learn and wants to, I want to know what the generation younger than me, I want to know how they think. I want to know their perspective. I want to know the music that they're listening to. And I try not to use my bias to write us off as not as good or any better or worse than my own, because I understand that I do have a bias based on being a millennial, just like a Gen Xer has a bias, just like a boomer has a bias, just like, the next Gen Y has a bias. That's part of being human. The difference is, do you use that bias to then dismiss everything around you, or do you try the best you can to incorporate and learn? I try to do the latter, and I would hope that any president would do the same. Joe Biden has proven he has no interest in that and would rather alienate what is arguably becoming the biggest voting bloc, depending on how you crunch the numbers. So, yes, that is a tone deafness to the nth degree. Joe Biden is just becoming a kind of cranky old man of the establishment. And, on a post a few weeks ago, a segment that we did, I mentioned how I thought Joe Biden could beat Donald Trump in 2020. Yeah. And, some people in the comments disagree with me on that one. They were like, I don't think so, Ron. I don't think he could beat Donald Trump. And now I kind of feel like I may have to concede a little bit here, because if he keeps up this path, I don't think he would beat Donald Trump in 2020. If what goes up against Donald Trump in 2020 is this idea of the system's fine, and as long as we get rid of Trump, it will be fine again, and you young people shut the fuck up, that's not going to beat Trump. Yeah. That ain't beating Trump. So if that's what Joe Biden has to offer, no, he won't beat Trump in 2020. So I concede, and I retract what I said earlier, because that may have been that was too preemptive on my part. Now, again, I said he has 3 years to fuck it up. So, so I guess he's proven me right in that regard.
Very soon.
Like, well, I did have that disclaimer in there. I didn't expect him to do it this quickly, but nonetheless.
Well, that's Joe for you.
And for many reasons, mostly policy related, I think Joe Biden would not be a good choice for president anyway. But yeah, this is, he's hopefully he doesn't run.
Yeah, and the one thing, like, speaking as a millennial, that, like, the only thing that Joe Biden had going for him among millennials was the memes, the Biden-Obama memes. Much. That's it. That's pretty much it. And like, oh, he's just crazy Uncle Joe. Well, now he's the guy who's telling us to get off his lawn.
Yeah, now he's crazy cynical Uncle Joe.
Yeah. So it's
he's like
I'm uncomfortable around that guy.
After Joe's had 2 whiskeys, just walk out of the room, or he'll start telling you how.
But see,
how everything your generation did is wrong.
So look, let me lay out some numbers, right? So to show you, like, we're not just talking out our ass why Joe is wrong, right? Because I know there's going to be some older people like, no, Joe Biden's going to be fantastic. You see, you millennials are just, being bitchy for no reason. No. Let me tell you and lay out what you guys don't understand. The millennial generation was kind of fucked from the outset. I mean, that's not whining. That's looking at objective fact, okay? We have been fucked, and let me show you why. We're the first generation to earn less than our parents, despite being more educated than our parents' generation, right? I mean, there's studies on this, right? 2017 analysis of Federal Reserve data found that millennials have a median household income of about $40,000, which would be great. I think if a lot of millennials actually made $40,000, that'd be fantastic, but most of us don't, and that's another problem. But according to the data, that means we earn about 20% less than boomers did when they were our age. So now it used to be like, you've heard the stories, right? Graduate from high school, you go get a factory job, or if you're a woman, you go and get a job as a secretary. I'm not being sexist, but that's just generally what used to happen, right? Now, then again, if you're a woman, you might or might not have had to work. You would have that option because it didn't require 2 incomes to pay all the bills, right? Mm-hmm. So you didn't need those 2 incomes. And if you're working, you join a union, you get health care, you get a pension, you end up doing pretty good, right? You could go to college, and if you chose to go to college to get one of those really high-end jobs, well, the how much college cost back then didn't put you in debt for the next 20, 30 years.
Right.
And the minimum wage was actually worth more as well. So you could work at McDonald's and pay your tuition out of pocket part-time. You could do that. Now, we grew up in the middle of the Great Recession. And not only that, but we grew up at a time where our country has been in consistent war. So all of our resources are now going to war instead of education, instead of healthcare, instead of things that actually matter. No, all of our time, money, and effort, and all these younger people are getting put into bullshit wars for oil, Iraq, Afghanistan. Some of the younger millennials in our generation haven't lived in an era where the U.S. has not been at war with some other country, whether declared or undeclared. That's fucked up. That's super fucked up.
Yeah. Well, and there's also like people slightly younger than you and I, Jeff. I mean, they know nothing other than just a failing market financially, too. You know,
That's
I mean,
why
they
socialism
know nothing
polls
but
well.
recession. They know nothing. You know, I was talking to a younger musician that I met, and he is, I believe he's like 20 years old. And he was telling me, you know, people kind of get on the fact that people a few years older than me and stuff were not really investing and stuff like that. Well, all we know is failure in that regard. We've not seen, I mean, other than the 1%, you know, we've not seen success stories in our generation. So how do you expect us to not be a little cynical and protective of that stuff, let alone having the resources to invest in anything too? So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, they've only known war. Most of our lives we've been at war, Jeff, you know, and it's an economy of war is just destined to fail. Like it will never, ever succeed.
Yeah, but Ron, why aren't millennials buying diamonds? I don't understand.
Exactly.
Why aren't they investing into the market? It's such a great market right now. Why aren't they investing? Why aren't they investing? Or are millennials killing fast food? I mean, come on. Like the numerous think pieces, right, from, you know, confused baby boomers about, you know, why we're not actually invested in an economy that has failed us in every single facet. Despite
we're killing
a lot of us
food.
doing all these different, I mean, look, you got people that follow the rules, you know, followed the rules their entire lives, did what they were supposed to do, you know, studied hard, right? It took out the college loans to try to get an education, try to aim for that good job that we were told we needed to survive, right? Not only to just survive, like, we're not talking about the basics of survival. We're talking about having a decent life, a shot at having, you know, a nice a house one day, and a functioning vehicle, and the chance at having a family. We did all that stuff, and what we're left with is holding a bag of shit.
Yeah.
Under a Donald Trump presidency.
We did kill fast food because they don't sell avocado toast at McDonald's.
No.
That's what it comes down to. That's why we got mad.
Yeah, I know. Like, hey, you better not piss us off. We're going to go kill another industry if you do. Watch out. Watch out.
But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. You know, we were sold this idea, and then as a result, you know, I mean, one of my favorite memes out there is just you have this meme where there's these angry looking parents, and they're standing on the doorstep, and they're like, you're coming back home. When I was your age, I started out with nothing. And then the kids there recently graduated from college, and they have this mountain of debt on their back. And they're going, I would have loved to have started out with nothing. Yeah. So I think that kind of says a lot.
It does.
Says a lot.
And so,
and again, there's a lot of, I mean, you know, let's be fair here and say there's a ton of progressives in the baby boomer generation and beyond. And the reason they feel that way is because they've seen things go down. They remember the world with strong unions. They remember when you could, you know, when the working class had much better protections. Mm-hmm. And they saw neoliberalism gut it all. They lived through it. So they can speak firsthand. They'll be like, yeah, this isn't the society we ought to be having. We used to be a very booming country that did have a lot of opportunity. And then we really stripped that away. Now, in the meantime, do we make advancements in technology that are amazing? Sure, we did. That's hopefully going to always happen. But, we've also, policy-wise, really shot ourselves in the foot in favor of padding the pockets of the 1%. And as a result, we have total income disparity at a level that one could argue is almost parallel to ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
And nobody ever saw this coming. So, a lot of people that have lived through all the above and you kind of look at it objectively, they're the people screaming the loudest for progressive change.
Yeah, and I think those same people, I think they did see it coming because they're the ones that have been fighting it for all these years and these decades. And so, those are the people that, I kind of hate using this term, but woke, but they've been woke their entire lives. So, because they're like, wait a minute, like, that's not what we want to do. Why are we handing over all this industry to, or all this control over to corporations? Like, aren't they just for profit? What happened to the unions that we were in? And so, again, this isn't to broad brush like some boomers do to millennial generation. We're trying not to do the same thing to the boomer generation because there's a lot of you that are on our side. I've got a lot of you guys that watch the show. And so that agree with me and that are standing beside us and fighting with us. And we couldn't appreciate you more, But as I'm saying, Joe, I mean, Biden and all these establishment figures, they're not the ones that are standing by our sides. And they're the ones that are continuously trying to alienate us. And look, if he is trying to run for higher office, that's not a good direction to go. That's not the direction that I would be going. Again, biggest voter block. And I know what he's trying to say too, right? I want to add one more quote here to kind of close it out. He says, there's an old expression my philosophy professor would always use from Plato. He says, the penalty people face for not being involved in politics is being governed by people worse than themselves. It's wide open, go out and change it. Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do. But the irony here is that people in the establishment are trying to stop progressives, are trying to stop younger people from getting into those positions and actually changing them, which is making it so that the voters don't want to get involved because all they see is the same old bullshit from the same old politicians.
And Joe Biden is echoing that sentiment from Plato while simultaneously supporting the DNC, who is actively suppressing primary opponents, giving us the notion that democracy is reserved for some and not all.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYT Nation.